Hello, hello, hello. Can everyone hear me all right? This is episode 2 of the Triforce Tastic. Oh man, Triforce Tactics podcast. That's some verbal dyslexia right there. The Triforce Tastic. Even more so now that we have our coveted guest Ramblinnn on for the night. If he wants to just introduce himself, not that he needs one, but
I'm Ramblinnn. You might have figured that out already. Been playing TFT since it came out. I didn't start taking it too super seriously until last set, but ever since then I've been pretty much perma challenger. So happy to be here.
Definitively top 2 best players that start with Ram. We have both of them here actually. The top 2 best players that start with Ram. So
Ooh.
Yeah,
I think he holds
Ramblinnn
the title for now.
Yeah, Ramblinnn is an absolute goat. So very happy to have you on. Thank you so much for making the time. And yeah, well, I guess we'll just jump right into it. So the first thing we wanted to talk about was, so Ramblinnn fresh off a victory at the GSS finals with Robin. So that was gonna be the first thing that we were interested in talking about today. So I guess the first question we have for you, Ramblinnn, is just how did you feel going in? Like, were you and Robin confident, or I guess just elaborate a little bit if you don't mind.
Sure. I was confident we could play well, confident we could do well. I didn't really ever think about us being the best team, whether we are or wasn't. That's for your own opinion to decide. But as like the tourney went on and on, I started hearing more and more like, wow, these guys are the favorites and they're gonna win it all. Like, I just never really thought about it that way, and that was super cool to have that be a reoccurring thing. So to go all the way from the start to finish and win both the initial 3 weeks and the finals itself, it's like it feels really satisfying to meet those expectations.
Yeah, it was like total domination, like every front. It was very, very impressive from both of you.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna add that I really enjoyed it. As far as duos tourneys goes, this is the first big one, so I'm looking forward to anything more like this in the future.
Yeah, it was super fun. I guess we were all part of it, right? So, we did have a question on Twitter actually that we did want to get into, which is just kind of like, we can all kind of talk about our own experience with the tournament. They were wondering specifically though if this is Rice Master 77 on Twitter. They were wondering if we did any sort of like specific prep for the duo tourney, aside from solo queue. I know you did, Ramblinnn. I'll let you get into it though. And then they also want to know, like, did you run scrims, watch more of your partner's stream to understand playstyle, stuff like that. So just like specific preparation and just like mindset going in.
So I can start off. So Rob and I have definitely been playing together probably a lot more than other duos. Maybe that's part of why we were favorited, other than just being like good players ourselves. But we played the initial duo tourney together back on set 4.5 PvE, and we won that. So like it wasn't anything serious, but kind of where we got our start together, and just being familiar with your partner as a player and having watched their stream a ton, it makes a massive difference because you know what kind of play style they have, what kind of comps they prefer, what kind of items they start, what kind of decisions they're going to make in certain situations. So having a good read on each other is just as important as having a good read on the rest of the lobby. We specifically did some practice against some of the other teams as well, but also just playing against viewers for fun. It's still practice to me, even if you're not playing on quite the same level of players that you're going to see in the tournament. You as a duo can still get that synergy going in practice, and like there are certain times it's not like a reoccurring super common thing in the tournament, but there are definitely times where you can make actual duo plays, whether it's like taking out your super carry to spare them another life or positioning specifically for each other, that kind of thing. Every little bit adds up, and I'd like to think it made the difference in the end.
Yeah, and I remember that there's that clip from week 1. Do you guys remember that? The was it the first week? The clip of like was it you took out your Riven, like your Riven 3, and like Robin won the round and like lived in like top 4 because of that or something crazy?
Yeah, Robin was in a position where he probably wasn't going to beat anybody, and the only hope of him placing any higher was winning, another round. He probably wasn't going to live with more HP than anybody else. So we took a chance because I had lives to spare, and I took my Riven 3 out, gave him another life. I think Pocky got knocked out that round. Robin was able to get an extra placement out of it.
Yeah, that was cool to watch. It was like the big highlight from week 1. Does anyone in particular? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You guys want to go ahead?
I can go on like knowing your partner was actually insanely important. I feel like me and Buzzy didn't have to specifically watch each other's streams at all because we'd just been playing together in Discord calls for the past like 6 months or so. We've been watching each other play. We've been like semi-coaching each other. So like we know each other's playstyles super well. So like we that really helped us a lot. And like we kind of cooled off the weeks 2 and 3, but like week 1 especially, we could feel like, okay, we just know how the other plays and we can bounce off each other super well. And we also like just had the trust in each other, I think. And there were a couple games in week 1 where like I got knocked out and Buzzy was wondering stuff, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, and we talked about this. Like he asked me, is 3 redeemed or 4 mystic better, or like adding an extra mystic better here? And I was like, add the extra mystic. I did the math. I'm sitting there in the back like just doing the math, adding equations, yada yada. But stuff like having that inbuilt synergy with your partner, I feel like really helped a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely nice to have built some synergy. Yeah, I mean, in terms of prep, I mostly just like I team with Jack, right? And we sort of just talked a lot about like, because basically I think it was a cycle every week, right? Like Jack would be like, Kevin, help! I don't know how to play the game anymore. I'd be like, oh, oh no, and we would like, figure out, and then something would click for Jack. Like I wouldn't really know what clicked for Jack, but I would usually like watch his games, see what was happening. I think it's kind of difficult. Like I remember, like it's kind of difficult for me to like coach or try to like have people try to understand what my playstyle is in a sense, because I remember I'd be like telling, like I would coach Jack in a game, right? And I'd be like, okay, this is what I would do here. This is what I would do here, right? And like it was like super different from how how he would make decisions, right? And like I think to that end, it's a little bit anti-synergistic in the sense that like I in general I don't know if Jack would be able to know what I would ever do at any point in time. Mostly because most people probably wouldn't know what I would do at any point in time. So it's kind of difficult. But like,
does anyone ever know what Ramkev's doing? Like,
yeah, as soon as RFC Udyr came out, I mean,
yeah.
This man, like Galaxy Brain on a whole like different dimension.
It's nice to have like just the communication, right? Be able to like share your thoughts and be like, open to talk. Because like I think the worst thing that can happen, right, is like you're in the duos tourney with your teammate, and for some reason you just don't know what your boards look like, right? That's like the worst case scenario, right? So just being able to like easily communicate, talk about things, and just like share information during the game is like pretty big already, right?
Yeah. For GV8 and I at least, so I like learned TFT by watching GV8, right? Because I started in like set 3. And so he was like one of the big, I mean, he's still one of the big people, obviously, but I'd watch his stream all the time to learn how to play. So I knew how he played, more or less. I think he's been around the stream a decent amount, so we knew how I played. But I feel like teamwork-wise, most of that energy went to the I don't know if you know this, Ramblinnn. So most of my tournament experience was basically a crash course on cryptocurrency from GV8, like in the middle of the tournament. He was teaching me about NFTs, about like just like all the logistics behind cryptocurrency, and the tournament was not very TFT focused for us, I would say. But I think the fact that we were both kind of just like taking it easy, more or less, like we were very on the same wavelength, I would say, did us wonders. Like I think the most synergistic part about GV8 and I, at least, was that we were very on the same page about like the value the tournament had to us, and like how not how sweaty I guess you're willing to get, but like how okay we were with like potential low rolls or like losing off of that stuff. So there's no pressure really, I think, which is the biggest thing that we had going in. because we were both just there to have fun, and it worked out. Because I mean, I had fun. I also learned a lot about cryptocurrency. So
I think that's just as important to have a similar mindset. I mean, it's definitely a mental game in the end. So if you guys are able to stay level-headed and bounce back from those bad games, I mean, it really helps to have somebody else there to support you too.
yeah, for sure. I mean, like not like yelling at your teammate. No, I doubt anyone in the tournament yell at their teammate at any point for like losing or anything, right? This is not a very toxic community in general, but I think having a teammate that's like supportive of no matter what happens in your game is really important, just because it keeps a good mental for both of you, and like it really needs to. I think a duos tourney in particular needs to be something that's like not necessarily fun first, but like fun and like making each other comfortable. It needs to be a very high priority for sure.
That's actually so true. Like in week 1, actually pretty much every week, like I wasn't playing my best, and I'm telling Buzzy about this, like, sorry, I'm not really playing that well, and he's just like, dude, it's chill. Like, don't worry about it. It's it's fine. And like that helped me feel a little better, just like confidence wise, and also just like Buzzy doesn't care that I'm dragging him down a little bit because like I'm contributing in other ways. So it's the positive team environment also like big contributing factor, and it's just with how well the entire community gets along. Like if there was any reason for people to like get toxic at each other, and if that actually happened, that'd be kind of a shock.
It'd be drama. It'd
It'd
be
be weird,
drama.
you know.
There's no TFT drama, exactly.
We should have a duos tournament and just put Thray and Salvi on the same team and see what happens.
Make like the most anti-synergetic teams possible.
See, I feel like any drama that comes out would probably come from EU. Like,
yeah,
doing it if we had a duos tourney of like just EU people and like pairing them up, we could find like some pretty toxic combinations.
Probably.
Whoa. Don't let any of the EU people hear that.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anyone in NA though that like if you pair, like think of like the top players in NA, like the you know, like tournament players, whatever that are out there. Like, can you think of anyone like paired up with anyone else that would be like a toxic duo? I feel like I can't.
No.
Nah.
Can we even think of one person who's like actively toxic in NA?
Me?
Okay, besides Ramkev.
I don't think there is anyone, honestly. I mean, I feel like after you get like into, well, I feel like Challenger-ish and up, like people just like that's when a lot of like, the league players start to get filtered out. People just end up being good people at the top. So
I feel like the closest we have is like Soju, but like he just trash talks tournaments, and it's not even toxic. Like
he does not mean it.
It's in good fun, and he's memeing, and he gets shit on, and then immediately gets memed on afterwards. It's just like, oh, okay. That's the closest thing, and even that's like a whole meme, which shows you like in some sense how like wholesome. Well, the wholesome as in like not toxic mainly.
Yeah. I mean wholesome, but I was having this on stream earlier, but wholesome, but we also have comp names that. Bang Bros and Big Cats.
I mean, it's meme culture. You gotta. Some of the adult stuff is gonna spill in there, you know.
I guess so. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't think any community that has Esha in it can't be called wholesome.
I don't know. Yeah, I think we just don't have toxic people. I mean, it's just like people maybe like. Can be kind of toxic to their friends, like you know, Soju being kind of toxic to his friends every now and then. But like that's you know, it's like punching your friend in the arm. You know, it's not really it's not like you're really being.
It is kind of it's kind of like funny, like not funny, haha, but like you know, you'll be in the Soju stream and he'll be in a duo with like Milk. They'll queue up together and then Milk will go A. He'll be, you know, the Milk voice when he gets like. He's like, oh, I went A.
Oh, I went A. Yeah. I don't know. I'm glad that I feel like a duos tourney is a good way to like put on. I feel like duos tourney and TFT works a lot better than a lot of other games, just because like everyone is so nice.
And like since it's not primarily team focused, it's sort of like you know it's like a breath of fresh air. I think like the thing with if you have to play team games, right? Like something like League of Legends or something like that. Sometimes like in a professional environment, you're kind of forced onto a team with like a bunch of strangers, right? You don't really know how to like communicate. People have their own internal issues, but like with TFT, you get to choose your friends. You get to
You know, pick your friends and pick their
you get to pick your
noses.
friends. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, have you heard some of the comms that come out of LCS? It can get toxic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's Dardock.
Ramblinnn also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jirachi.
No, you go for it.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say. So we were talking last week about like the teams, like the duo tourney like format. And I was wondering, Ramblinnn, if you like would you think you'd change anything about like the format if possible? Because we were saying it's kind of like the format. At least our conversation kind of led to last week about the format being rather than like rewarding team plays most of the time. Like team plays were less about like rewarding working together and more like rewarding working not against each other. Which I don't know how you feel about that, but.
I feel like we're just kind of restricted by what TFT is right now. They're making the best of what we have, and it's ultimately going to be a free for all mode. And sometimes, I mean, that's like you said, part of it is making sure you don't hurt each other just as much as it is you help each other. So in terms of what they can do as a format for a tourney, I think they did just about as good as they could have. I really liked having a bonus, prize for winning a game. That gives you a lot more incentive to play your best, even if you're not in contention or if you're already locked. Either way. That's one thing that's been missing in other tournaments is like a lot of times somebody will get a big lead and then they don't have to take it seriously, or you'll be just so far behind that there's no chance, so they're gonna just throw the game anyway. It's like it really helps to have that incentive all the way through the tourney.
Yeah, super agree. Yeah, I think Remco was talking about like a Dota mode that's like a team mode that seemed really cool, where like you share gold and like items, you can like share items and stuff. I think as well, but. For now, at least for like what we have available to us, I think it was a really good format.
I mean, I'd be happy to see any kind of duo mode at this point. It doesn't have to be anything about sharing or like nothing complicated. I literally would just be happy with a game mode where you don't match each other and you just pair as a team, add your points together, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
I think that would be a big step forward for TFT that's lacking in that social aspect right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been duo queuing lately on ladder. Like Soju, for example, has been duo queuing a lot. Like other streamers have also been duo queuing a lot. Like not duo queuing, right? Because like they just queue at the same time. As, like yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's some few people in the pool that you're pretty much guaranteed to match each other if you queue at the same time.
Yeah, which I mean, it looks like it's super fun. Like it's obviously they're not like win trading or anything, right? They're just like they're whoever it is, they're both trying their best most of the time, and then. It's just fun to be able to like talk to someone in the same game as you as well, even if you're not working together. So there's like I think TFT does become kind of a lonely game sometimes. Yeah. I mean, if we're ready to move on from duos though, I guess we can talk a little more about it.
We have on the doc, so we can ask Ramblinnn this first. What were you most surprised by in the duos tourney? Like a duo you were sure was going to move on to finals and then didn't, or like the other way around, or just anything surprising?
Honestly, when it comes to TFT, nothing is surprised with so much variance there is, but you still have certain expectations for teams and players as to how they're going to perform based on the past. I mean, most obvious one that would stand out would be Nubel and DQA. They're obviously both very good players, but this just wasn't their tournament, so to not see them come very close to the finals, that's got to be somewhat of a surprise. And then on the other side, there's some players that really impressed me. Bird, of course, we already know is very good, but he was very consistent all the way through. He popped off in the finals, got the top overall score. But also somebody like Raditz, who is a very good player. You've seen him do really well on ladder, but I've never even seen him play in a tournament before. So for him to score the highest through the first 3 weeks,
he popped off.
Is really, really impressive.
He definitely popped off
so hard. Yeah,
I was gonna say HJW performing as well as he did and he basically carried Bert to finals where Bert ended up popping off.
Yeah,
but no ego, no flame. Who is HJW?
Never didn't know.
It was his high school friend. Yeah,
anyone except Bert heard of this guy, and he just pops off, outscores Bert, carries him to finals, and then Bert takes it from there. But that was the biggest shock to me.
Yeah, there was a few players like that where they were chosen just because they're their friend, but then they end up playing really well against some of the other good players. Pressman was another one that I'm not familiar with him at all, but just from playing
Yeah.
against him and seeing his games, he did really well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it speaks to that, like, you know, we were talking about earlier, like the synergy between players is really important, and like, you know, feeling comfortable with them and stuff like that. I think it really speaks to that being like such an important part of a duos tourney, right? Because like, you know, I think a lot of the skill there can kind of be like a lot of decision making can kind of be made up by like your partner helping you out if you're like, you know, not quite as up to speed with things. But being like the two of you fostering an atmosphere that's so comfortable for each other is going to do wonders for you, which I think those two teams in particular were like super good examples of. I just a couple of bros hanging out each
Playing
team.
with the homies.
Yeah, right.
Exactly,
And
the
playing
summer
with
was
homies.
about.
time.
Yeah,
It wasn't anything super serious. To see like a lot of like, I think everybody enjoyed it, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Even the teams that didn't place amazing, they still had a good time the entire way through. So I think it was a success on all fronts.
yeah.
I feel
It was
like
a- it was
most
really
of the
good.
teams were just homies. It was like whoever qualified was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna pick a friend because I want to have fun. I want to enjoy this." So it really felt like most of the teams were like that, and I guess part of that made it a little more competitive because like when people enjoy playing with each other, they just kind of play better. So the level of competition, even like though like not every name was like this big tournament name, like I'm playing these lobbies and it's like it feels like a tournament lobby. Like it feels super stacked, even if like the names don't necessarily scream super stacked. Just the level of play got raised probably way higher than it should. It looked like it should have been at face value just looking at the players because everyone was just homies enjoying playing with each other.
When you're
Yeah.
pulling together both individual players' strengths, it's like the total cumulative effect is that much higher. So it's like when you're playing together, both of your play is elevated. So like the overall, it's going to be really tough.
Yeah, it's super multiplicative rather than like additive there. You know, like the big anime power up, but you know, fighting for your friends kind of thing. So yeah, it feels good. It feels really good to play in a duos tourney. I hope they do some more. That was really a great experience.
Yeah, for something that wasn't planned from the beginning, it was, I think, awesome. Just I don't know how long they had even considered it, but they ended up delivering for sure.
Yeah, it was also really cool just have like a tournament to rally around for everyone. Like, well, there's this big lull right between like mid set and finals and regionals and stuff. There's like this big tournament that the community could just kind of like enjoy watching, enjoy participating in, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then the ball street thing was cool as hell too, for anyone watching.
Oh yeah,
Stonks.
Stonks. And actually, yeah, it was like having a tourney that wasn't just like feeding into worlds, like part of the whole world cycle. Like, okay, we had like Dawnbringer, Nightbringer, mid set, like all kind of back to back, but like having GSS kind of like in the middle, just as a tourney, like wild concept, just have a tourney to have a tourney. Like, there's
Right?
absolutely nothing wrong with that. Honestly, like I feel like we really should just have more of those, and have them be like on that kind of scale, not like the scale of regionals or worlds, because like if we have that all the time, we're just gonna get burnt out of like giant tourneys. But like having that kind of like regular thing, and also having it spread out over 4 weeks was actually really nice because helped reduce some of the variance. Because like I mean, TFT like RNG game, there's a ton of variance in there. We just play like 1 week and then that's the tourney. Like it can get kind of sketch, but over the 3 weeks and then finals, it helped showcase like what happens when you put this game over good long stretch of time. Like the people who played well more or less like got to finals, and then from there it's just okay. Well, then Ramblinnn and Robin popped the fuck off in finals and they won the whole thing. So, but like, and we had like all this hype and like all this like kind of marketing stuff around it, and it's just a tourney. Like it didn't go into worlds at all. Like this existed as its own thing, and we don't need a tourney to like go directly into worlds for it to deserve like all that hype around it.
Yeah, I mean for sure. I think like especially because you know again there's that big lull and like in a lot of like mid sets like there's a big lull between like the beginning of the mid set and like start to worlds or like competitive TFT just feels like it's kind of like sleeping. You know everything's just kind of like nothing's really going on. And for there to be a tournament, especially like it being spread out over that entire amount of time, the 4 weeks, felt really, really good for that reason too, right? Because there's constantly something for people to look forward to in terms of competitive TFT, like players and spectators, right? Because it's fun as hell to watch a duos tourney. It's so fun to watch a duos tourney. So it's great for spectators. It's great for players just have something to do as well. So I mean, it's just all around it was a huge dub, and I hope they keep up with that. So
even just having the lobby split up into 2 different days was really cool as a competitor because I got to watch one of the days. I didn't miss out on all of the games, so I felt like I was even participating as a viewer all the same.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was such a cool experience. It was such a cool experience. I think they really blew it out of the park with that. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, Giant Slayer does a great job. I think they're really pushing. I think they are the tournament scene, right? They
they really are the tournament scene.
We owe them a lot.
Yep. Yeah, I was very happy with how the whole thing went. So. All right. Well, I mean, I guess the what is the saying? The elephant in the room. I want to say dinosaur in the room. I don't know. Like, there's not a T-Rex in the corner.
It could be a dinosaur.
It could be a dinosaur. Okay. Let's approach the Bronchiosaurus in the room. Regionals. What do we think? I mean, I guess before we get into who's gonna do well, maybe I guess just general thoughts about maybe like the format of the tournament, the amount of like just thoughts on the tournament, the amount of players in it, etc., etc. Anyone can feel free to start.
I think it is unlikely I will qualify, considering I am not participating. I don't like my odds.
It is highly unlikely 3/4 of this call does not qualify for Worlds.
Very, very highly likely. Like 99.999. The T-Rex in the corner of the room, the Brachiosaurus in the corner of the room also agrees that maybe Spicy Appy's Josh and Ramblinnn will not be qualifying for Worlds, but
or will they?
Then we have Mr. Kevin Ramen in the corner here, who what are your thoughts on it, Kev?
I don't know. It feels so much smaller. So like, the first regionals was, 36 different players over the course of like 2 weeks, 4 days, right? Was it 36 or was it 24?
I think it was
32.
32.
Yeah.
32.
You almost
Math
there.
wrong. I have my math wrong. 32. 36 is just a nicer number, but yeah, 32 players. So like it is kind of weird, and I think this is partially because of the fact that they were planning on having the event in China, right? Right, that was their grand plan. That's why like the number of Worlds participant, I assume that's a big reason why, last year or last set it was what, 24 people, and now it's 16. And so like the regionals got smaller as well. It feels kind of like, I personally have had some gripes with the fact that like, almost 90% of the players that have qualified for this event are kind of like based off of set 5 results instead of set 5.5, which is the set that we're going to be playing on and the set that Worlds is going to be on. But that's the logistical thing when they sort of, it just feels kind of bad, right? Because it turns out it's not going to be in person, it's not going to be in China, so they wouldn't have had these logistical issues. So like they could have even have expanded the pool, honestly, right? If we knew it was going to be online and we knew everybody would be playing online, like, there could have been more people, right? There could have been more opportunities, but I guess that's how the cookie crumbles. But it is what it is. 2 days, 16 players. It does seem like it's sort of downscale in a way, right?
It definitely feels strange coming off a month-long tourney going into a 2-day tourney over one weekend where it's like, yeah, and I understand it's less players and everything compared to last set, but you would still like to see that. I don't know. I'd like to see more mix-up of the lobbies because there's 4 players you're never going to play against because they're not going to qualify for the day 2, so you don't even get to see all the competition.
Yep. And it's weird because this is a tourney with like much higher stakes than the 4-week tourney we had. But it's I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna like. Obviously, it's not anyone's fault that like Worlds had to get moved online like we obviously got planned to be in person when like COVID looked like it was getting better, and then COVID just got worse because this country is full of idiots, and I'm not going to go too much into that because I don't want to start a people riot. So like all that aside, like okay, like they were planning on it being in person, had to like get stuff done earlier, and we were ranting about this in Appy's chat earlier of like why is the field for regional so small? Yes, I get we're only going to like all this is building up for 3 slots for Worlds, which is 1 less than last year, but like why does that mean it's less people in the tournament competing for that? Like and if it was 32 people in regionals, like the 16 right now feel like yeah, it's all like elite players, but like it's missing people, like it's missing Ramblinnn. Like the most notable is in the call with us as the guest, probably like Ramblinnn not being at regionals. I'm just saying it's like mind blowing. It's fucking criminal that Ramblinn's not at regionals. But like if they had like an expanded to like 32, then like Ramblinn's probably at regionals, and at that point like it's all the qualifying for regionals mostly came off of set 5, but if you expand how many slots are in regionals itself, you don't have to be like elite in set 5 and set 5.5. You only have to be like good enough to hit regionals, like hit that baseline, and then from there, if like you get a ton better in set 5.5 and qualify just off the tourney there, then like you put in enough work just to get to the direct step to Worlds, almost, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for a game like TFT, it's like any given day anybody can pop off. So to have such a restricted field of players, when I think there's not even myself included, there's another probably 10, 12 players that could totally qualify to Worlds, and they're not getting to participate, it feels like we're not representing our region to its fullest.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I'm just gonna say expanded format. This entire call should be in regionals. Yeah. I'm just gonna say it.
Agree.
It's I mean, hopefully next set, you know, again, it is like, I guess, with wanting to go do Worlds in China in person and stuff, I can see, I guess, some of the thought process behind them trying to reduce it, but it does feel like it's a step in the wrong direction for competitive TFT in general, I would say. Like reducing the field, and then, was regionals last set over 2 weekends? Am I crazy?
Yeah,
it was 4 days, over 2 weekends.
4 days.
Okay, yeah. There was also more players, but like, I feel like it's almost like we're taking a step back. Like, the GSS tournament was a huge step forward, I think, for competitive TFT, like as a spectator sport and everything, right? But regionals then, in comparison, it feels like it's like GSS is 2 steps forward, regionals is like 1 step back now. So it's like we got to find a balance somewhere. Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of players who really like played their hearts out this set, that are not going to be. I mean, again, 3 of us in this call played our hearts out this set. They're not going to be able to be at regionals, because, you know, we were a little bit shy in certain situations. And I think, I mean, there are a lot of people who could represent North America very, very well at Worlds and just at regionals. Kind of like even like, I want to just like show, you know, people who watch our regionals like how many good players we have, like how many awesome fucking players we have, and we're showing them 16 people, which are again 16 amazing players, but. Like we have so much more to offer on top of those players as well. So
it definitely feels like it's clashing with the change to our ladder, where we now have 250 challenger spots, but our regional spots went down. That seems a little backwards.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and as always, sorry, go ahead.
It really throws out people who are like now really popping off in set 5.5. Like, and I'm just looking at ladder, like people who aren't in regionals who like did like. They were good players. They've been good players. They did well in set 5, and they're just crushing 5.5. Just like looking at ladder, like Renzer, Beppo, Cottontail's been smurfing ladder again. Like these are like these guys just like they were good in set 5, and now they're crushing set 5.5. But because there's no qualification for regionals off of 5.5, and the set 5 qualification was you had to be just the best. Like there's no slots for any of these people, and there's no longer a path for them to even have a shot at Worlds. And are these people who are guaranteed a World slot? Absolutely not. Like 90 us, like maybe half of in an expanded field, maybe half of the tourney would have a realistic shot at actually having those world slots, but not giving all these people like the chance to just go for it and see, and that chance at like, oh, this is my day. This is my day. I'm gonna really pop off, and this is the day I'm gonna get my world slot. Like, not even having that chance feels really weird.
Not even having
it's
participated in myself,
crazy.
but going back to last set where there was an open qualifier into regionals. Like, I think that's really cool that people have that chance to make it in. That might not have had a chance to participate in the set up to that point, but if you're playing really well at that time and that you do well enough in that one specific tournament, I think you should get a shot. Why not?
I literally won that tournament to get to regionals. Yeah,
there you go.
Like, I wouldn't have been at regionals if it wasn't for that tournament. I wouldn't be on this podcast because like it started with me like getting to regionals and like doing pretty well there. Also DQA. If I'm leaving DQA off that list, would feel garbage of like people who should be at regionals who have been popping off this set.
Oh, yeah.
But like having and I guess like the argument has been that Dawnbringer and Nightbringer Cup were the open qualifiers, and the other argument was that set 5.5 snapshots was basically just that it's a giant open qualifier, but like
it was so stressful for everyone.
Ladder is just not it. Like treating ladder as a tournament.
It was
really
1 week
weird.
of ladder. Yeah, like finding out that we only had 1 week. It's like. It was not because I think there's like a 50% chance that I wouldn't even be in regionals, right? It's like one bad day and you're just done, right?
I took a day off in the middle of that week because I think I hit rank 1, like right. And I like took a night and like a morning off to went to the Smash tournament and like chill with Miss Appies. All of a sudden, I like the meta progressed a little bit. I knew what was going on, and I couldn't keep up anymore. It was
Kudos to Ramkev and Soju, but they both played 50 more games than me in a week. I just can't keep up with that. That's just too much for me to play in 1 week.
6 hours of sleep every day.
Yeah, it's just it's so unhealthy.
Crazy, yeah.
I have to like make that the format. It's
tourneys already require a lot of endurance. Like playing 6 games straight at your top level while having these like breaks in the middle that like you can't control when you want to just go, like it's hard. Now take that and make it the entire day for a whole week, every single day. Like it's so draining. Like we were like watch partying Raditz stream, and like it was like Kevin was in there, and it was like us, and then like Bryce, Frodan, Mort, and we were commenting like Ray is drained. Like you can't see it, but like the stream ticker said like he's on hour 22 or something. We're watching how he's playing, and we're like, this man is dead. Like he's so tired. Like this is not healthy. You should not be playing, but like he kind of just feels a need to. And it like treating ladder as a giant open tournament.
It's not the way to
for 1 week. That's not it.
No,
like it's just not.
There were so many people who just were like, I mean, I was one of them. I was like, I feel like my whole like rhythm, everything, my health is so fucked up for like 2 weeks after, because like how sweaty that 1 week was. It was awful.
To play so many games, it is
kind of kills the release of the set in the sense that like you're gonna burn out, guaranteed, if you have played that much. And that like kind of spoils it for me because I really do like the set. I was looking forward to after having played it on TV, but knowing that I was going to have to grind to have a chance is like I wanted to take my own pace and I couldn't.
Yeah.
It also kind of like for me personally, like it kind of killed once I realized it was just 1 week, and knowing like historically I'm not always the greatest at picking up new sets, like it kind of killed my chance of getting that slot. I was like, I'm not going to pick up the set fast enough to get that good that quickly. B, the absurd number of hours I'd have to grind, I would not be in good shape at the end of it. So I was just like, and it was a little bit like I have to just accept I'm not going to regionals after mid-set. I think it was around like a little before mid-set when I realized it was a 1 week snapshot, and I was just like, okay, it's either I get in through mid-set or I'm just not in at all, and I have to just figure out what to do besides that.
Yeah, it's super punish players that don't just like to slam games at the end of a set, right? Like Ramblinnn is a player who is always by the end of a set, Ramblinn's always like top 5, top 10, right? But he works way up there at his own pace, and he gets there, and he's always one of the best players in the set. but like forcing a player like Ramblinnn to have to just slam hundreds of games at the beginning of a set is like that's just a terrible way to play it. I think a terrible way to play the qualifier. So
Well, and to some extent, like, then it becomes not a surprise that Soju qualified through that, because, like, Soju is, like, early set king in the server. Like, is he going to be rank 1 by the end of the set? Probably not. But, like, beginning of the set, he's always rank 1. He always learns the game absurdly quickly. So, like, it really does favor people like Soju. But, like, Soju's also, like, historically not good at tourneys. To put it lightly. So... And like, you know, he for the format that like we had, he deserves a spot. Clearly, he got the spot. Like everyone who has a spot at regionals deserves the spot. Like I will stand by that. All 16 players should be there. But like the qualification process, like a little bit weird. B, also just regionals is so restricted. So
yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna. There really has to be some kind of revamp, I think, in terms of how regionals. Like, I personally have had my gripes with like the ladder point system and snapshots, mostly because I like up until recently I have not cared at all about ladder. I personally think it's not a good overall measure of skill. I think it's a good baseline, but I don't think it's like the end all be all. I don't think it's anywhere close to that, and I really think that, you know, it is hard, right, to come up with a new system and think about what could potentially work, but I personally am of the opinion that the ladder, like the snapshot system, kind of has to have a big revamp.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think one of the biggest issues with it is that like EOB and Challenger will get like a lobby with like 7 Masters players. But you gain LP for that, obviously, if you win. You lose LP if you lose, but like, so if you gain LP like that, then it's like, I feel like if there was a better matching system where like, you know, you're in a lobby of people that are consistently like around your skill level, at least according to ladder points, right? Then like you get a more, at least like, it's a better format. It's like a better baseline.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you take somebody that's like 1300 LP, right, and you match them against somebody who's like, I don't know, 300 LP Masters, right? That's like the same difference between like, you know, Masters and Gold, basically, right? 1, 2, slightly bit more, like Gold 1.
or
If I'm
Yeah.
Masters 0, right, you go all the way down to Gold 1. That's like the same kind of matchmaking, right? But like that's sort of how it goes, right? At the top of the ladder, that it ends up looking like that.
yeah, and also like I dread the 7 purple lobbies. Like especially when I'm like 1k plus. Like I hit a 7 purple lobby, I'm like, okay, I need to hard play for top 4 and just get the fuck out of this lobby. But also like like Masters players almost like just don't punish each other. It's like you're playing so hard for top 4 in those lobbies because they don't punish each other. Someone is going to hit some omega cap bullshit. Like I swear to God, 90% of the 3-star forecasts I see are in purple lobbies because they just had they got to a point where like they were able to build up so much eco that they could hit that 3-star forecast. So, and at that point it's like, well, I'm not playing for first. I just have to play for top 4, and also because playing for first, like it involves some degree of risk. Like if I play for first and I miss and I go 5th, I'm losing 20, sometimes 30 for that 5th. So it's the risk reward of playing for first just does not work out in Masters lobbies at all. But in tourney, sometimes you just have to play for first, and in like a full challenger lobby, sometimes you're just like, I can go for this first because the risk reward is worth it for playing 1st or 5th, but the EV is just not there in a purple lobby. So it changes how you play, and I guess like if like ladder becomes like, oh, how flexible are you? Like how flexible are you in your play style? It, like kind of it's okay test of skill, but like I feel like the test of skill, what the best measure of skill isn't how good you are against players who are like worse than you, or like how consistent you can be there. It's how good are you against players who are equal or higher skill level. And that's like where tourneys and like the top of ladder shines in that way. Like when you hit like an 8 challenger lobby and it's like a bunch of like big names in there, like, okay, this is gonna be a good lobby, this is gonna be like a good test. But then that doesn't happen every game. Matchmaking just doesn't work out like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the consistency is like definitely part of being good at TFT, right? Like being able to consistently top four and stuff like that. But it's definitely not it's not even close to the end all be all. Like I think there's a lot more to understand about like a skill level from a lobby that's all players like a similar skill. There's also, I mean, I think various variants also ends up playing a little more of a part in that kind of lobby. Not necessarily more of a part, but like maybe it's more obvious in that kind of lobby, like for the players in the lobby. I think consistency is a big thing for TFT. And again, I don't know if I'm saying that like I don't know. It's just some of the matchmaking feels really weird. Like I mean, it's not like I can't go 8th in like a Masters lobby, right? Like Masters players are still really good players. Top like 1% of players, right? They're still really good. It's I mean I literally went 8th in a Masters lobby today. And I was like 90 LP.
Oh my god!
I couldn't hit Vel'Koz 2. Went hard 8th. Not like a softish 8th. It was an 8th. Either way. But like I mean it's. Like, yeah, I probably didn't play the game perfectly. I could have played better, and I could have done something to play for not 8th. But, like, at that point, it's... I don't know. It's just... I don't know. Maybe I'm just salty. I lost 90 LP from one lobby today.
Yeah, the classic Jose losing 100 for a 7th.
Yeah.
Like that's just like I mean that's the outlier, but like the fact that can happen is nuts.
Do you have any particular thoughts about this, Ramblinnn?
I don't know. I just don't care about ladder anymore. I hit my rank
That's
one.
fair.
I haven't cared
Yeah.
since. So
I'm trying to
like,
hit my rank one.
when people come in
Give
the
up.
chat and they're like asking me how to climb, how do I get to this rank? Like I just tell you it doesn't matter. Just focus on getting better, and you'll be satisfied in life.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I've found that I like mentally I feel like I've pivoted to content creator lately, and I feel so much better about everything. So I think the less you seriously take ladder, the more fun it is. So
My favorite is when someone comes in my chat is like, "Oh, what's the best comp for me to one trick right now to climb?" And I'm just like, the best comp for you to one trick is get better at the game." I don't know what else to say.
I've been telling people that ever since I started my stream. I refuse to answer questions like that. I just will not ever.
Just get good.
Yeah, people are always like, what do I like? I'm like trying to. I just started the game. Like, what am I supposed to force every game to like get to like whatever rank? And I'm like, just force like don't force anything. Just if you. So this is how I got better at the game when I first started. Was I didn't watch like any guides or like I watched streams a little bit, but I literally just played random shit every game. I just got used to all the units, and that's the way to get better. I always say just like don't pay attention to comps at all. Just like learn your fundamentals and play for fun, and also play for like just play what you hit, play like experiment, and that's how you're gonna get better. You're not gonna get better by playing. I mean, by playing like Spirit Zed every game for 200 games.
Ooh, Spirit Zed.
Oh god.
No, one of the newer variants of Zed. Certainly not Shade Zed.
I think it's the experience we go through when we play on PB, and I think a lot of new players skip that experience. It's just figuring things out for yourself. Like I know it's not very easy, but what happens is a lot of people skip straight to the I want to gain LP part, and they don't even learn half the game, and it just ends up that comp ends up getting nerfed, and they're like, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
What do I play? My comp is gone. I never learned how to play this game.
That's honestly been me a lot. Like I really learned the game in set 4 through Warwick 2.0. But like although like one tricking still like it has like there's valid reasons too. And sometimes like learning the game through the lens of like through the lens of your comp, like it can kind of warp how things go. But like when you learn like, okay, these are all these trees that like that lead up to this comp I'm trying to play. Here like learning all the matchups for the comp, like really sweating a comp when you're a one trick on it actually can help you learn the game quite a bit, because you learn like what everything else does, what all these interactions that happen in the game. It just happens to be in relation to your one comp, but a lot of one tricks have ended up just like once their comp gets nerfed, they're fine. They either the direction of they're just going to continue playing the comp and just crush ladder with it anyway, or they're gonna pivot to something else, or they'll pivot into playing a few comps. But at that point, like, they've learned the game. They've paid attention to how fights go. They're not just like buying 7 units every game, and that's the only units they buy and pay attention to. Like, they're still learning the game, but cycling back, I hate being like, this is the specific comp you should play. It's like, just find something that fits your play style that like you're good at, and then like learn the game, pay attention to everything else that's happening. And sometimes like, and most of the time, even if you're a quote unquote one trick, you're not 2020. Like, a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I'm like one tricking this comp, and then in my dual chest it's like, oh, I'm like 13 out of 20, because there's 7 games in there that I was playing other stuff, because like I've learned the game. I can play other shit. It's just most of the time I'm choosing this one comp. But there's validity to like learning the game through a particular lens. But like, it is easy to just get stuck in that one lens and not like only tunnel on learning your comp and not learning the rest of the game.
Yeah, that I'll tell you, you'll learn a hell of a lot more by like playing around with units and then figuring out why like 6 Blade Master Master Yi is really broken on your own than reading a guide and having it tell you. Like, you'll learn a lot more like figuring that on your own than you will like about the game, about like fundamentals, about the units, everything. You'll learn so much more by you'll learn so much more saying like playing, you know, 3 Blade Master, like 3 Blade Master, 2 Blaster, like, you know, like 2 Brawler Master Yi, and then saying, oh, maybe that's not very good. And then, you know, kind of working your way into figuring out, how do I make this unit work? Like, what makes it work? What makes it break? What makes it, you know, you'll learn so much more by just like experimenting on your own and like figuring out units. I think one of the biggest things with TFT, right, that people don't realize is that a lot of like, I guess the flexibility, it's the buzzword and I hate to use it, but like the flexibility of the game and like the skill cap of the game is kind of like tied to how well you can play around like individual units, like how well you understand individual units and like their strengths on a board, because that's what a lot of like strongest board comes from, right? Is like understanding like, you know, this random Nidalee is probably stronger on this board for like X reason, Y reason, and Z reason compared to this like random Rakan. Like, stuff like that is like where you start to like see the skill ceiling in TFT like really get up there, and a lot of that just comes from like playing around units, like understanding their interactions with other units. There's like so much depth to unit interaction and just like the individuality of units as well in TFT. So
yeah, I swear to God, I learned how Lucian worked in the first week, one tricking Cavs, because I was the Lucian. I would have like my backline clumped together, and the Lucian on the same side would just always mow down the backline. I'm like, huh, that's how Lucian works. How do I work around this? And like, I wasn't playing Lucian and like learning how to finesse his ult and like figure out exactly like all these details of how his ult works. I was learning all that because I was playing against it so much. And that goes back to like, okay, learning the game through the lens of your comp. Like, I'm figuring out the set through Cavs, but like I'm like I pay so much attention to how the fights work out anyway that like I was sweating everything. And people would go on about how like Cavs is brain dead, like, oh, you turn brain off, press D, and I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm sweating every single unit's positioning. I'm paying a ton of attention to other people's boards and like all these like micro interactions that like I'm learning the game in that way. So
yeah, real quick, maybe so that we stay on schedule, maybe we kind of move kind of far off from regional talk. Do we want to talk about any predictions or anything like that?
Yeah, we have in here like, okay, all 4 of us predict who's gonna go to Worlds, the 3 people, and who wins it.
I think Bert's winning.
Really?
I think Bert's winning. Bert's been so cracked lately. Bert's been so cracked lately.
He's been so good, actually. He's been actually smurfing like he's been smurfing everything. He's been smurfing ladder. He smurfed on finals in GSS. Like, Tourney Bert's just a whole different animal.
Yeah, I feel like if I was to say, I think probably I guess this is what I'd like to see as well, but also like who I think is going is probably, I think Bert, Remkev, and like Pocky / Robin are probably gonna go to Worlds. That's my prediction, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
No cappuccino.
you know, like pull up the list of people who are actually going to Worlds. Hold on. I have a list here somewhere. Mine, I have. This is gonna be wild. My wild prediction is Spencer wins it.
Oh. Sheesh.
Which I feel like Spencer's somehow flown under the radar just like the tiniest bit. Because he hasn't been like decimating ladder or anything. But like
He's so good.
Spencer
Everyone's so
in tourney
good.
is
Oh my god.
insane. Everyone in this tourney is really good. And I'm just like, Spencer's an actual beast. He was like rank 100 during most of GSS and had the second most individual points after bracket. Like, I have Spencer winning it, and I also have Robin and Ramkev qualifying. This is not host bias, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
Kevin's
like, just cracked.
Let's
Kevin's so
appease
fucking
let's
cracked.
appease the this way. I don't know which way I'm going.
I'm gonna
Let's
have
appease
bias
the
in my
co-host.
predictions. I'm gonna put myself number one.
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah.
put myself number one. Because I don't think I wanted to win. Well, actually, I want to win Worlds more, but I've never wanted to win a tournament more. Actually, that's not true. I want to win the previous Worlds too, but this one's kind of important because I want to prove a lot of people wrong. Because I feel like, I don't know, it feels like for me, all throughout set 5 and like a lot of the beginning of set 5.5, it felt like a lot of people just forgot that I like existed. So
Like sitting there scheming in like your bat lair, your bat cave, like.
I mean, I just had a bad time in set 5. I hated that set so much.
Did any of us have a good time in set 5?
Fuck Vayne. Vayne,
Let's be
okay.
honest.
Fast 9 Vayne 2 gives me nightmares. I wake up like screaming, thinking
Yeah, yeah.
of rolling on 3-2 for 6 Forgotten and then just
It was-
watching my board blow up. Oh my
What do you mean
god.
Vayne 2? Vayne 1 wins
with
games.
Vayne one.
Hurricane, it's like it was bad and like just going into streams and being like, oh, is Ramcam still good?
Ramcam's still good? No
I'm
shit,
gonna-
Ramcam's still good.
I have never wanted to destroy like everybody else more than I want to now.
Can I change my
So,
prediction after hearing that? Can I say Ramkev wins?
But that's just me. I have a lot of motivation going to this one, so hopefully it goes well. But who knows? I could just low roll first day and just be out. We'll see. Other two, I think. Yeah, I think Robin and Poppy. I think other two, but there are people that I want to do really well. So I mean, I want everyone to do really well. So I don't think anybody can obviously make it out. So rooting for everyone. I'd love to see GV8 have a run. I'd love to see Kurum have another run. I'd love to see a lot of people have a run, but GV8's trading his penguin, so I'm not. We'll see how.
He's been sweating. He was playing off stream today.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
He's
sold a lot of my
definitely
games
sweating
today.
now. He's definitely he's putting in the work now. So
Oh,
The greatest thing would be if the TL boys just all made Worlds, just GV8, Robin, Kurum.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Just we're sending TL to Worlds. That would be so funny.
I wanna call out GVA here because during the tournament I told him that IEJG Lucian is super fucking good, and he didn't believe me. He shit on me today in ladder with IEJG Lucian. I expect payment. I expect some of his LP in the mail.
How many penguins do you expect?
At least 6.
At least 6 penguins. Bet.
Yeah.
6 penguins.
Alright, Ramblinnn, you're up. Go.
Seems like we have pretty similar answers here, and I'm gonna pile onto the bias and pick Ramkev to make it. I think he has the results to back it up. He did go,
It's the heart.
I don't know, 3rd at Worlds. I think that's decent.
Decent.
It seems like anytime you've actually cared about playing well, you play well. So to see you pop up on ladder right now, I think is like a really good sign for going into it. And then I'd have a hard time not picking Robin as my second. I think not only is he my friend, he's my teammate, but he's been really consistent throughout this entire set, not just at 5-5-5, but he's been doing well on ladder. He's been doing well in tourneys. He got second at mid set. We won the duos tourney, so he has all the results to back it up when it comes to this specific set. So,
yep,
I would be surprised if he doesn't make it, but I mean, only so many people can make it. As for a third pick, I think it could be just about anybody. I have no clue, honestly, but I guess I'll just throw in Spencer as somebody I like you said, is a little bit quieter recently.
Dark Horse,
But
yeah.
when I pay attention to him, he's always making plays, always popping off. So I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like him not only take top 3, but he may even win it. And if he doesn't win it, I'd like to see Kerm repeat personally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Kerm win last regionals was like from the fires of Mordor, clawing his way up to win regionals was fucking awesome. That's such a cool tourney to watch.
His chat right after was so funny. just you can't even follow. You just vaguely see a concept of I'm grooming to worlds over and over and over and over in the midst of like 1,200 gift subs. Like,
you guys remember the world's teaser as well, where it's like the My Hero Academia scene. It's
yeah. It was one of
the
it was
world's
like
promo
editor
stuff.
made it or something.
It was so funny. Yeah, Kerm getting the worlds was like he feels like the protagonist of TFT. Honestly, it's so hard not to root for Kerm. Yeah, he's so
just
lovable.
so loved by the community. Like, there was not a single person who watched Kerm go to Worlds that was like upset about it.
Yeah. It was awesome. It'll be a fun tournament to watch though. I mean, honestly, I don't think the meta's gonna be too much different than it is like what we're seeing on ladder or like at let's say the last week of the GSS tourney. I mean, I expect Kalista Aatrox Reroll to not be very prevalent after Aatrox got the bat, but
Yeah.
I mean, Kale's still really strong. Obviously, Assassins are still really strong. You know, Heimer 2's playable. Heimer 1 kind of ass. Vel'Koz is still good.
I feel like a lot of people have been complaining about this patch, or maybe it's just the circles I'm in. People are like, "Oh, this patch sucks," and I'm just like,
having fun.
You know, it feels like there's not a ton that can like go first. It's just like, oh, I have Kale or Auction. It's still literally just like, do you have an upgraded legendary? Okay, you have a shot at going first now, or like a 3-star 4 cost. Like that's what you can go first with. It's no longer you need an upgraded 5 cost or a 3-star 3 cost. Like 3-star 3 costs, except for Nocturne, like just don't win the game anymore. It's just like Nocturne, some crazy high roll 3-star 4 cost, or an upgraded legendary carry. Like that's what you can go first with, but it feels like there's a lot you can top 4 with right now. Like just off the top of my head, like Jax, Lucian, like a Kale 1, Vel'Koz, Nocturne can still go top 4 pretty easily. Vayne has actually been like fine. She got nerfed in the B patch, and she still feels like okay to top. Like she can top 4 pretty easily still. Like it's hard to hard force Vayne. I feel like.
I went to update my my tier list the other day of comps, and it's not like super comprehensive every single combination of units you can play, but generally I like to keep like somewhat of a balance between the tiers, so you have like an idea of how things compare to one another. But I was looking at my list of comps. I have like 8 of them in B tier now, and there's only like 12 comps total. So they all feel like they're right in the middle. It's just like, did you high roll enough this game to place well? So I think there's lots of stuff you can play, and obviously, you know, there's the Kales of the world, and I think Nocturne's up there too at the top. But I don't think there's much you should feel bad about playing right now. Everything's decently viable.
Yeah, super agree. Oh, I know you play a lot of Lucian, so I was wondering what your thoughts on this. I see a lot of people putting Lucian back middle now. It seems really good. Have you seen that? Like,
yeah. But there's definitely a time and place for it. The main thing is that you get to snipe
the carries, right?
People leave them in the corner, and there's just as much counterplay to it. I specifically called this out in the tourney, and I middled my Vel'Koz against Precedent Solution, and just like he just instantly loses for that reason.
This is Squid Beam right up the middle.
Yeah.
I actually saw that during my co-stream, and I called it out. I was like, and I know Ramblinnn sees these angles because like just something about like AP carries with a giant laser. It's like Ramblinnn sees the angles, and I'm thinking even like set 4.5. I'm just like, okay, these spots that Ramblinnn is putting Asol in, I have no clue why the fuck he's putting it there, but it's working. So like clearly he sees something I don't. And I saw that Vel'Koz positioning into the middle Lucian. I was like, yeah, Ramblinnn knows exactly what he's doing. Like he sees the angle. Like that's the counterplay to Lucian. That's the counterplay against anyone who tries to middle their carry against the Vel'Koz. Honestly, like throw your Vel'Koz in the middle. It hits the carry anyway.
I think middle Lucian is a good tool to keep in your back pocket, but it's not something you want to leave there the entire time because people can react to it. So
For sure.
It's just another option to switch up. It's not something you usually see. You don't usually get to put your carry in the middle and feel good about it. So that's a really cool tech. As like I think Lucian is not quite on the level of being busted, but he's just such a flexible unit in every sense of the word. His items are flexible, his positioning is flexible, his comp is flexible. So
He's so stable.
I think he's a really fun one to play with.
Yep.
I feel like Lucian's Lucian's probably the best 4-cost carry right now.
I would
Like,
agree.
I don't think that's controversial, and part of what makes him strong also is that Galio is probably the best 4-cost frontline. Well, the best frontline that's not Revenant, and in some cases, like, he's even better than Revenant frontline because that unit just does not die.
I feel like
with the right items and like 6 Sentinel, like that thing will tank forever, and if Lucian can get shots off because of Galio tanking forever, like it buys so much time.
I feel like one of the things I'll always remember with this set, like looking back in the future, is like watching in like an IE Last Whisper, like whatever Draven, ping away at like a Gargoyle's Galio 2 for like an entire fight. And just do absolutely fucking nothing. The entire fight.
I've watched the Galio 1v6 with a Gargoyle Sunlight Cape.
Yeah, that unit is so good. So good.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the odd one out here because I'm gonna tell you guys how many games I've played with Lucian carry in my past 30. There's one. The one game I played Sinspat, i.e. Titans Lucian.
Yeah.
And outside,
how did Sinspat feel?
This is generally just my mindset. I think that when a comp is good, when a comp is like this is the same thing that happened in 4.5 when everybody was basically playing Kale leading up into regionals. I know that I know how to play that comp. It's like, there's many trees to go into it, but like many items you can go into it whenever you want. But I generally like to go against what people are trying to play at any current moment, because I know a lot of the regional players sort of have that kind of priority on Lucian as a unit, right? He's incredibly flexible. You stabilize when you hit him on 7, things like that. But if 5 out of 8 players are all trying to play Lucian, then I guarantee you 3 out of those 5 are probably going bot 4, right? So like, I personally think, when people tell me right now that there's no flexibility in the game, that is so wrong. Like,
It's so weird to me to have people like, I know Kale is really good, but to have people tunnel on her so hard is like the only comp you can play. It just makes no sense to me. I never play Kale.
Even more so it's just a 5 cost.
I don't either.
Like, huh?
Yeah,
like
we have a lot of 5-cost carries now. It's like, it's not just Kale. Like, Kale's probably the best 5-cost carry, but even she's like a little item dependent. Like, what do we have? We have like Kale, Akshan, Teemo, Heimer 1-2 and Gwen all feel like viable 5-cost carries. Like, I've seen Gwen do so much work. I think people really sleep on that unit. Like,
I think Gwen is great.
So many carry options.
I think Nidalee reroll is actually really strong. I think that nobody on this server knows how to play Nidalee reroll, so I'm not gonna tell people how to play that until after regionals are done.
Hit me in the DMs, yeah.
But I think Cavs reroll is still very viable, unless you run into like 3 Vel'Koz players and you cry. But even then, it's still like, if you have a Declaw Hecarim, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? Like, I think the thing about reroll comps and why they don't seem as strong to most of the like players right now is because I think they don't understand the concept of like, you really have to play those comps for tempo. It's not like I'll hit the 3-star, that's my win con. It's I'll hit the 3-star before anybody else hits anything else, and I'll just mow them down and they'll all be dead, right? Like that. Those are not like a lot of the ones besides probably Sins right now. Those are not comps where you can just be like, I'll decide to play this. I don't have the conditions to play this, but I'll still force it anyways. You really have to understand the ins and outs and when you can play those comps. Yep. But if you do know that, it's playable. But I think, some people might not be happy because they don't get to just brain dead force the units every game because, you know, they're strong in meta. So like, you know, if I hit Riven, I'll just play Riven. You know, if I hit Yasuo, I'll just play Yasuo. It's more like, all right, I hit Yasuo or Riven. What are my items? What are my units? Can I play this right now, right? And a lot of people sort of don't understand those nuances, and that's where they sort of fail in those comps, right? Or like, same thing with, you know, Hellion Reroll, right? Like, it's still very playable. It's just that you can't do the same thing you were doing. And this is the thing again, like, this is the thing with one tricks, right? Like, or like, if you're one tricking and you're not learning to play the game at the same time, then that's where it sort of falters, right? Because then you can't really understand, you know, what you need to adjust, what you need to change in order to improve on that, right? So like when the comp inevitably gets changed, you know, if it's strong enough for you to, you know, just play that comp and do well, right? It's inevitably gonna get nerfed, right? You'll be able to play it for 2 weeks, it'll be gone. But the question is, do you understand, you know, what made the comp strong in the first place, and you understand how to adjust your playstyle enough to the point where you can still get away with, you know, potentially playing it with to success, maybe not every game, but like, you know, be able to play other things, etc. Right? Like, I think that's the very important thing about the meta right now. I think it's in a very good spot, and I, you know, I might just be biased, but like, I
totally
like
agree.
when I'm happy is normally when the game is at its most flexible.
It feels like it's a very play what you high roll
Mhm.
meta, which is I think the best TFT meta. You know, it really rewards understanding like your best like win conditions, your best top 4 conditions at any given point, like what you can and cannot do from a spot.
I noticed this also. I also noticed this about the reroll comps, like, and when I was like first week one tricking Cavs, like I was full open every single game, like roll down on 3-2 for Hecarim, and like I haven't played a single Cavs game from open fort this patch. Like if I'm playing Cavs, it's just because I saw the angle early. Like I hit an MF or two from a box. I have some Hecarims. I have tank items. I know I can play Cavs this game, and at that point, like I have the conditions to play Cavs. I'm going to hard force Cavs at this spot, but it's not from an open fort, and it's usually like from ahead. And same thing with Nocturne. Like maybe some people will still like hard open for Nocturne, but I really don't like hard opening for Nocturne anymore. Like I think playing from ahead is good. Playing him from like semi behind is fine. Like if you're around 40 HP on 4-1, if you've had hit Stimmy by then, like sure. But playing Nocturne from 20 HP on 4-1 feels so bad, because unless you like you have to high roll a ton of conditions to have a guaranteed first from 1 life on Nocturne. Like you have to hit like 3 Nocturne items.
You
one,
have to have the
Z's,
Radiant, maybe, right?
Like, a Radiant Nocturne item, or like a Radiant Frozen Heart. You have to have like anywhere between 4 to 6 perfect items, or like 6 absurdly good items, and the Sinspat, and the Viego, and the Volibear to make it back. And like if you're hard forcing and you're spending so much gold to roll for Nocturne 3, you're not gonna hit all of that. So like playing it from like I want to hit on like 30 HP, hit on anywhere from 2 to 3 lives feels so much more comfortable.
Yeah, I think if you're playing it from like an open fort angle, it's basically like you're playing for a weighted coin flip where the weight is probably not in your favor, right? Like you'll either go 8th or you go first, and you're probably gonna go 8th. A lot of the times, right?
Yeah.
Or you know, you'll go 3rd and not even first, right? It's like
no, exactly. And even once you hit all this crazy bullshit,
you run into Bramblefest Galio, and
you run into Bramblefest Galio with a Kale. That's all like, and like at that point in top 2, like they can position for you, say they can like full clump, even though it doesn't always work, but like they can full clump, and sometimes the full clump will work out. That like you can't do anything even with an Omega capped Sins board. So. And if I'm playing Sins now, like I'll play it from like soft open, like I'll go for loose streak, but I'm not doing the like make 10 at 2-1, make 20 at 2-3. Like it'll be from a loose streak angle, but just not full open. Like full opening does not feel good right now, which some players will be happy about, because there are some players that despise full opening. It's like, oh, you're just not playing stage 2, like you're not playing a quarter of the game. Like where's the skill in that? Like, and I have mixed opinions about full open. that I can totally get into another week. Find out on the next episode, Dragon Ball Z. But like full opening just doesn't feel good right now, which maybe is good for the game. I don't know.
I think that's saying something that, like, I agree personally. That's saying something about the state of the game when we even have the blessing the stimmy as a bonus for open forwarding, and it's still not the the most viable strategy. I think that's probably a good thing.
Like when I was watching GSS and I saw Soju every game going for, like, he was basically full open and he's hitting fast stimmy every game. He's hitting stimmy like 3-3 or 3-5, and I'm just there like, he's going 8th. Like, there's no way he's not going 8th, and he gets 6th. I'm like, oh, that's a high roll. Like, it says something about like where open forwarding is right now, and that's such a change from like the start of the set where like Cavs reroll and like the, oh my god, the like Renewer Sentinel, it was like Aurelia Rakan reroll, when like those comps were way more prominent, and like you would have 3 open forwarders every single game.
Yeah, well, I feel
and then also like rats in there. Like, there's been so many comps that like you open fort into every single time, and like a lot of those comps are still playable. Like Hellions are still playable. I mean, I haven't seen Aurelia Rakan in a while. Like Cavs are still playable, but not from open fort. You don't open fort into those comps anymore.
You know what it is? It feels like when open fort is really good, it's like, so how I feel like open fort right now is that it's like another opener, right? It's like if you, like, sometimes you have nothing to play. Like, I agree, it's super bad right now. Not super bad, but it's just not something you can do every game, right? Or like most games. But you know, you also don't get like a Nico start most games, right? Some games, like open forting is the right answer. So some games, like very few, but some games, right? And so it's another opener, is what it is. And so when it, like, the thing about open forting, when like open forting is good, is that it's like being able to force the same opener every single game. And like if that opener, it's like if open fort is a strong opener, and you can just force that opener every game, it's like, like a lot of TFT, like I don't know, I feel like a lot of stage 2 is kind of variance dependent, right? You know, like what units do you hit, what can you play? Like there obviously is a lot of strongest board in stage 2, but like more or less, like if you're like the high challenger or whatever, you're gonna know what's the strongest board more or less. So a lot of it is if you hit the units or not. That's not to say that you need open fort though if you don't have the units, right? There's a lot of ways to save HP, to like spend a little bit of money to save some HP, and like it's very worth it in the long run. But this is just open forting, and those openers are still very diverse from each other and from like, you know, whatever other opener you get. But open forting, when it's good, is literally just a way to play the same exact opener every single game. Like you can play the same exact stage 2 every single game. So if that's healthy, if that's not healthy, if that's good in a meta, it means that there's something so broken that like you can, I don't know. It's like,
yeah.
Open forting should never be something viable, because it should be something that's viable in very specific situations, right? It's like another opener. It's like getting a Nico or getting like a 5 gold. You know, it's not like something you should be able to do every game to consistent results, because if you can make your stage 2, which is normally like pretty variance filled and requires a lot of like understanding strongest board, a lot of understanding how to kill units, like positioning wise and whatnot, like what stuff to slam. If you can just make that stage 2 so consistent that you can just literally play the same opener every single game, and then let's say roll down, hit whatever, like relatively consistently, right? Like let's say you roll down, when open fort rats were good, you just roll down, hit on 3-2, you hit them relatively consistently, you're stable, right? If you can play your stage 2 like that every game, there's something just inherently wrong with the game, right? That in that meta, like you should not be able to make stage 2 that low variance, I feel like.
Yeah, it means there's some kind of big imbalance in a sense. Yeah. Go ahead, Taraji.
Open forting, I'll say one item opener where you get like, you just get 1,000,000 gold. Open fort actually feels really good from that.
Yep.
Because like you can carry that open fort to 3-5 and have a ton of gold to roll for like a really good level 7 board and just destroy the rest of the lobby. But it
requires a very certain opener.
You do not get one item opener every single game.
Yeah, right.
Like, I swear to God, I see it probably once every 50 games. Like somewhere in that ballpark. I very rarely see it, but like if I know there's a good reroll comp, like right now, Nocturne, if I see one item opener and I have like bow or glove start, it's a Nocturne game. And I know I can roll on 3-5, and I had a game like this, like I want to say 2 days ago, where one item opener had a Nocturne in there, so I wasn't even hitting literally like the max eco every single round. I had 50 gold on 3-5. And level 7 50 gold, and I could just roll down there and then have to carry that 2-4-1. But you're not getting that opener every single game, and even from 2-item opener, it's not always correct, even full open. Like, and like you said, like there's even like tech quote unquote full open, some people will do like the literal full open. There's nothing on their board. They're literally not going to play the game stage 2, but there's still like units you can play and still make those eco thresholds, and that's where some of the like the skill expression comes in of even open forwarding, knowing what units you can play that will kill something to save 2 HP, because just saving 2 HP at the cost of literally no gold can be 5 placements sometimes. So it's and that's also something I'll be doing with Sins a lot, even playing from lose streak. Like I'll be aiming for 5 loss, but I'm going to set myself 1 eco threshold behind, just so I can like kill units and instead of being 56 HP at Krugs, I'll be maybe like 66, and that's a lot more comfortable to play from. But there's so much about open forwarding that like feels like it's good. It is good as an option to have. Like if your opener's just completely not it, you have a ton of gold, open for it, that's fine as an option. But yeah, it shouldn't be something you force every game. And this is coming from someone who at times will open fort and hard force literally every game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So do we want to move on then to, I guess we have mailbag next, right?
Yeah, I think we want to talk about Chinese TFT as well. We might need to wait till next week to talk about
we'll wait until that.
I'm sure much
we'll
to Ramblinnn chagrin.
time to shine.
I'll have a lot to talk about Chinese TFT.
So I guess we can just get right into the mailbag then. So I guess this is an interesting question. So I guess we can all answer this one. What are the qualities? Ling was taken. TFT asked. So what are the qualities of a skilled player, in quotations, and how do you qualify someone as great at the game or not? Maybe throw it to Ramblinnn first if he's cool with it.
It's hard to gauge a player's strength from anything except the results, honestly. And as a individual assessment of a player, like I have my own personal assessment of all of you as individual players because I've seen you play. But in terms of how good you are at the game, I mean, it's really just going to come down to results, because everybody's good in different ways. So when people come in, a really common question I get in my chat is, what's the difference between this tier player and this tier player? What's the difference between a master and a challenger? Like, probably a million different things. You could, as a master player, you could be better at something than I am at that thing, but I might be so much better in every other aspect that it just outweighs the cumulative total is much higher. So I don't really look at anything in particular as a way to assess a player's strength other than the end result.
Yeah, there are like too many gauges to narrow it down.
It is one of the fascinating things about TFT. Like, there's so many things we have to do and so little time to do it that like all of us are better at something than 99% of the player base, including like 99% of top challenger. But like, how skilled someone is, it's results. It's a mix of like results, and in some cases it's like, I know someone's really good because they do something that's so core to the game better than everyone else. Like, all of us, I can imagine everyone in this call and the chat thinks Mismatch Socks is really, really good. Like, one of the best in the server, and A, he has tournament results. B, it's because we know Socks is maybe the best in the server at identifying the strongest board. And that's like something he does better than the entire server. So when you have something like that, we know, like, we watch someone play and we're like, this person is better at this than basically the entire server. Like, that's one way we know someone is good. But that's still not like the end all be all. Like, and for like me, it's like a lot of people see me play and they're just like, Jesus Christ, Jirachi has like the fastest hands in the server, I swear to God. And I still know, like, even with the fastest hands, and I would argue against that. Like, I've watched Spencer play and I swear his hands are faster than mine. But like, even knowing like, okay, I'm better than like even most of Challenger at just like with like stuff with my hands, I'm not that skilled because that's like not a giant core part of the game, and also I don't have tournament results. to back up like me being super skilled. But like across challenger, you just it's not even, it really isn't like a set thing. We just watch someone and we're just like, this person's good. It's so hard to quantify how good someone is.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you've never seen somebody, you know, the only thing you can really look at is the results, right? I think if you really want to like be able to say, oh, this person is a good player, and you don't know any of the results, like, ideally you want to just watch their games, just put yourself in their shoes, right? And be like, what would I do here, right? Would I do something different? Are they doing the same thing? One, if they're doing the same thing, you know, maybe, you know, their decision-making process is good. If you personally believe that your decision-making process is good, or, you know, if they're doing something different, why are they doing something different, right? Because if they're doing something different just because it's autopilot or because it's bad, you know, that's one point against them. But if they're doing something different because it's something you didn't think about before, you know, like, that's something you have to consider, right? And, you know, it's really difficult, right? Because if they're not completely explaining their thought process, then you're gonna be like, oh yeah, they did this because of this, right? Or they made this decision because they were thinking this. But like, honestly, without the results, and if you're just watching somebody, that's probably like, that's the way to go, right? Is to sort of try to understand their thought process and think, what are they doing and why are they doing it, right? Because that's sort of like a good way to go.
At the end of the day, like, everything in TFT kind of culminates into the decision-making process, and, like, decisions that you do make, right? So I think, like, for example, people who go into streams and are like, you know, do this or whatever, and then like the streamer does something different, for example. Like, a lot of the skill in TFT really culminates into that, whatever, into decisions, obviously. As it's a game, you're making a lot of decisions, and that's where a lot of skill expression is. So again, I think it's kind of a tangent, but one of the best ways to get better is to go into a stream and just see every decision someone makes. Like, if you know that they're a good player, right? You go into any of our streams, you see what decisions we make, and you say to yourself, you just ask yourself, would I make that decision? And yes or no, and then just understand, like, why. They try, like, one of the best ways to get better is just to try to understand why someone is making a decision, because that's how you get to. If you understand why someone's making a decision, then, you know, you're learning more about the game. You're learning more about the thought process, everything that goes into that decision. Which, you know, that's where a lot of skill comes from. So by understanding why someone makes a decision, you'll understand a lot more about how good they are, for one, how much they understand from the game, but also, like, maybe you have a lot to learn. You know. So. Yep.
I guess the final thing I'll add is that if you asked me to rank, you know, to the top 10, 20, 30 players, I could do it. I could give you a list, but I would not feel good about it at all. I can't compare these two players and say that one is definitively better than the other. So, like, you can kind of gauge a player's general strength, but it's impossible to mark them down at any exact skill level.
For sure. I mean, people just value different things as well, and, you know, in different situations, valuing different things it's a game of variance, right? So valuing something in one situation might be rewarding, where overall, like, the EV of it wasn't maybe perfect. I mean, maybe it wasn't the right, like, the EV wasn't in their favor, right? But they hit it and they took a risk, knowing. So, like, at what point is, like, the risk reward there factor into how good they are, and, like, understanding that? And there's, like, so much to. It's a game about situations and decisions in situations, right? And so, since we'll never see the same situation twice, really. Every game is just infinitely different situations. Then we'll never really be able to, you know, see whether someone was, like, really get an idea of how good someone is compared to someone else in that situation. Because who knows what would have happened, right? What if you hit the D key one more time? If you hit the F key one more time? Yeah.
I feel like the meta, like, constantly changing also kind of feeds into, it's so hard to rank play. Like, if I want to rank a players on a particular day, like, it's hard. I could, like Ramblinnn said, like, I wouldn't feel good about it, but I probably could. But here's the thing, like, the game changes so much even every day. Like, people just figure new things out, like, the game evolves, and then when the patch drops, everything just gets totally wiped out, and we have to learn a lot of new stuff. And like we said before, like, people have different strengths, and different strengths will matter more in certain, like, on certain days than others, just with how the meta evolves. So, like, even my ranking, like, one day, like, if I were to rank the top 20 players in the server today, it would probably be different tomorrow. How different would it be? I don't know, but, like, it could get pretty different depending on how, like, the meta changes. And then, like, next week, once a patch drops, it's gonna massively change, just because, like, different stuff is going to matter more, and and that kind of shows in like the cycle of who's rank 1, who's like what rank on the leaderboard at any different time. Like different, we're all so good at different things that what like how good we are compared to each other is so variable.
If we want to get into, I guess, the next question, this is from Beppo, actually, who has been climbing the ladder like a madman lately. And so Beppo asks, how bad an idea is it to just wing a comp? Would it be better for me to just follow guides? I guess I'll start here. I don't think there's such a thing as really just like winging a comp. So a guide, at least like guides, if you're talking about guides like on like let's say Mobalytics or like Walsh has guides or something too, probably, right? That says like at stage 2 play these units, pivot into this, whatever, get into this end game board. I think at least the definitely level you're at, Beppo, like stuff like following a guy like that exactly is not going to get you anywhere. Like I think I was talking about this earlier, but and there's no such thing as really just winging comp either. I don't think. Like at the end of the day, I think top level TFT comes down to understanding the strengths of units and the strengths of units together and the strengths of your units against other people's units, right? And that does not always take the form of like, sometimes you might play a comp that's literally just a cookie cutter, like the Mobalytics comp, sure. But if you're saying like, okay, let's say I'm playing Jax a game, right? If all of a sudden like the whole lobby, I'm carrying Jax 2, and everyone that's playing AD dies, and then there's all AP left. I'm not staying in Ironclads, right? And then like you pivot into Mystics, for example, and then all of a sudden, I'm like winging a comp. It's not really the same. It's not really winging a comp, right? I'm playing strong units, just maybe different units than like a Mobalytics guide, for example. Again, I'm keep using Mobalytics. That's the only one I knows makes guides. But like I don't think there's such a thing as winging a comp at like top level TFT. It really just comes down to you're playing units you're playing the best units you can find that work well together and work well against other boards. And it comes down to that at the end of the day. Like, yeah, certain comps will just be really strong no matter what because there's the synergies are strong and stuff, but it's those little like micro decisions, like the decisions like taking out a unit because it just does nothing in a matchup, or like putting in like a naked Volibear because that it'll ult and then like you win a whole fight because of it. Like stuff like that is so it's more about unit strength than like following a comp.
Yeah, go ahead.
Guides, I feel like guides tend to be a good first step. I'll say that. And this, like I'll still like if I see like a Reddit guide on something, or like if I hit something in a game where like I've never played this before, I know there's a Reddit guide on it, so and I see the angle in my game, I'll like take a peek. Just like get just like a little bit, okay, like this is like the basis, but like from there, it's like the reading a Reddit guide will never teach you literally everything about the comp. That's going to you just play the comp, you figure out stuff on your own, and like I mean like even Beppo like knows this because of calves, like figuring out what works with calves. Like we didn't read a Reddit guide on that. We were playing it on our own, and we like had our own knowledge base to go off of with how to play these comps, and just allow like testing stuff out on your own. You don't necessarily have to like 100% wing it, just like like looking at a guide and being like, okay, these units work well together, I know that now. Like getting like that as your start, I feel like feels okay, even all the way up into like Challenger. Sometimes if it's like another Challenger player writing a guide, like I'll take a peek at it. This is a good player. I know who knows what they're doing, and if they're writing a guide on this comp, except for Casper writing a guide about Chug Jug and baiting the entire server, except for that, I can generally trust that they know what they're talking about and are like speaking to how to win with a comp. Except for Chug Jug, don't play Chug Jug. But so it's good to like get your first step there, but like doing stuff on your own, it always feels better like building the rest of the way up off of just this foundation that you get from a guide.
Mm-hmm. And just like I think with my philosophy on guides, I think it's important to go in with the understanding that like if you emulate, right, if you try to just copy and paste, or if you try to like just do what you're seeing, right, you're never gonna really get better results than that, right? Like, it's important to realize that, guides are gonna tell you maybe why something is good. You really have to dig into them to really, really see, like, if they're written by a good player, then they'll probably give you sort of like the general theory behind it, right? The reason why something is good, and that's something that you have to pick up on and like carry and like build off of that, right? Because like it comes down to not just guides, but like watching streams, right? If you're trying to emulate, right, you're never ever gonna be better than the thing that you're emulating, right? So it's important to like internalize the information, process it, and then apply it and sort of your own kind of spin, your own kind of not spin, but like apply your own kind of understanding to it, right? Like really internalize why something is good and why like it works. Because if you don't, it's sort of like you can copy test answers, and it'll be fine. You'll get 100 on the test, but like you really wouldn't have. Like I wouldn't say you're smart for doing that, right? Like I wouldn't say, oh, you actually you got 100% on this test because you just copied the other guy that got 100%. Great on you. You're like. You're doing just as well as that other guy, right? It's like it's very different, right? So it's sort of like you really have to use it to build your own knowledge base and not just say this is my knowledge base, right? Because that is like where you're gonna be stuck, right? And where you won't improve.
I think guides very quickly devolve into general good advice on how to play TFT because that's how TFT works. You can't just for most comps, there are definitely exceptions, and that's usually reroll comps, but from the very beginning of the game, you can't just sit down and say, oh, I'm going to make this decision at this stage, and it's going to take me here, and then I'm going to do this and this and this, and it doesn't chain together that cleanly. So you really, I don't think there's a lot to learn from following a guide as much as just knowing what you're aiming for, and you probably want to work on your general fundamentals more than anything specific to the comp. And there are definitely times where it knows to know, like, how do I beat this comp, or how do I position against this? What are my weaknesses? What kind of items do I need to go for? That kind of thing is great, but it's not going to teach you how to play the game any more than it is going to teach you how to play the comp.
Yep. I feel like the higher... I feel like as for example, I was writing a guide, right? I wouldn't write a guide on like I wouldn't write a guide on 3 ironclad jacks, right? I would label the guide like Jack's carry, and it'd be like instead of going like saying do this, it'd be like probably more of going over like fundamentals in terms of like what do you value in certain situations, in terms of like what do I need to itemize against other people's boards if they have this or this, or like what do I value on my board if on people's boards in terms of like units, and then like different like units to play around jacks in certain situations. It's about like understanding situations, right? That's what I feel like a guide should be, rather than just like play these 8 units and you're good. It should be like value these things in these situations and you'll probably do well with the guide. And then it really comes down to not just, again, not even that, like don't just like blindly follow like the opinions of the person who writes the guide. Like take it all to heart, like understand all that, and then make it like build on your game, like build on your understanding of the game, and then you'll do well with guides. Or like understanding guides is a lot of like using guides effectively is a lot of just understanding that like like Ramkev said, you're not gonna be better than the thing you emulate. It's a lot about internalizing it and just making it part of your own game and then going from there.
From someone who like has written a Reddit guide, like, and the one Reddit guide I wrote was like so specific. It was, here's how I position Coven LeBlanc assassins, like stage 4 onward, like super specific, one aspect of the comp, and that was like just me going through that was like the same length as some like full comp guides I've seen on Reddit. And it's like Appy says, like I'm breaking down like a bunch of situations. Here's how I position against like these specific things. I'm pulling up examples, and at the end I'm like, yeah, but like don't follow this exactly. Like if you find like what you think, if you find something that ends up working better in a super specific situation, do that. Don't just blindly follow my guide. This is what I do, and this is a good base, and it's still not correct all the time. So and this is from me, who's like wrote a guide and just made that explicit.
Yep.
There's so many branches in TFT that you'll never be able to cover them in anything kind of educational, and like you can cover the baseline. I think that's what guides are good for, is a baseline, but
Yep.
ultimately you still have to play the game.
It's all about fundamentals.
Oh no, I have to play TFT. What a shame.
Unlucky.
It's like
Unlucky.
I think an example of that is like, so when I coach someone, right, I don't like the, you know, like people will handle someone through a game and will be like do this exactly. I feel like coaching, like, that's how I do it. It's more of this isn't a plug, by the way. But
hey,
like,
if you want coaching, quality coaching, check out
It's your
anyone
own
in this
podcast.
call.
You can play whatever you want.
it goes like hand in hand with guides, right? And that like it is about like yeah, you can tell someone exactly how you would play a game exactly, right? And it gives them one permutation of that, like whatever happened. But you know, understanding like getting to the core people's fundamentals is more of what a guide should be about, as well as like something like coaching. Anyways, I guess we have probably time for like one last quick question.
Oh, we could do the last one, which would be really quick.
Yeah.
It'd be entertaining as well. So Gnome Addict 1 says, anything you miss about shadow items? I can go first on this. The only thing I've missed about shadow items was pre-rework Shadow Trap Claw, which allowed you to teleport to other units.
That was fun.
I hate every single other shadow item. That was the only cool one. If you teleport your rise onto the back line, it's lit. Garbage item system. Somebody else go.
After having played Radiant items, I don't miss shadow items at all. Like it was cool in concept of like, okay, like here's this item, here's a drawback, but here's some like really cool thing that it does. But like the weird access to it of like people can get like different amounts and some just end up being strictly better. Like it just felt weird, and maybe it's also because we're spoiled by Radiant items. Like I think Radiant items just feel so good. Like just the fact that any unit that uses an item well can also use the Radiant version well. Plus, like, there's no drawbacks. Plus, everyone gets one. It's not like with shadow items, you can see like, oh, someone has like 5 shadow items out of 6, and someone else has 1.
Open for Forgotten players.
At 5-1, open for Forgotten players. Exactly. Yeah. Like the unfair access to shadow items just felt so bad. And now that we have Radiant items, where it's the same. There's still like the little bit of RNG of like you're only offered 5, you can't control which Radiant item you get, and sometimes you'll just get absolutely fucked by your Radiant armory. Like there's nothing good, but like there's enough. Like 5 feels like a really good number for like there's probably something that's going to be at least usable in Radiant armory. So like Radiant items never actively feel bad unless you misclick on Radiant Static Shiv, and you're stuck with Radiant Static Shiv. But other than that, Radiant items just feel good. So like shadow items having like all these weird caveats and sometimes feeling like garbage, like you just don't miss them. And also things I don't miss about shadow items is when I'm going for a specific spat item, and I'm like, oh, I need a redeem spat. I need a very specifically a regular cloak. And then carousel comes up, and there's 2 cloaks, and they're both shadow cloaks. I'm like, welp, I just am not getting redeem spat. So, like, stuff like, there's enough that just felt bad about shadow items that I'm just like, I don't miss them. Just Radiant items.
Yeah, I'll keep my thoughts short and sweet. All my homies hate shadow items. Fuck shadow items.
I mean,
that's it. That's all I got.
I don't miss them, but if there's anything I liked about them that we don't have right now is it does suck that you have to have the correct spat to build the spat item you're looking for. But I did like having access to more spat items in general to build. Like that's something that they've kind of improved on now by adding all of the emblems and stuff. But that was something they talked about for a long time, about they didn't want to have to balance everything around every trait. And look at us now; it feels completely natural. So if that helped push us into this direction, I definitely appreciate that. And I have to imagine that shadow items were also a factor in adding armory, so I will thank them from that.
Yeah, true.
Armory
feels so good. Holy
imagine
shit.
playing TFT without an armory. Holy shit.
Please tell me
we
they're
played
not
without
taking
armory.
armories.
We had to play TFT without armories for like 4 sets now.
Oh man,
Isn't that crazy?
I feel so spoiled now. Holy, like a spoiled brat. I'm gonna now when I get an armory that's not very good, I'm gonna be like, it's okay. I appreciate you.
Okay, I have a question for you guys. I think we're wrapping up soon, but this is not something I feel strongly about. But I wanted to know how you guys would feel about having a 4-item armory at the start of the game instead of a carousel. So you would have a little more control over your choice. You wouldn't be like it wouldn't be like an APM check, but you still would be limited in that you can't get the same item every single game.
I've never thought about it, but I like the idea of it a lot actually.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. I think I like the idea that you can sort of. But yeah, I think the one issue with carousel, right? Let's say you're like, 200 ping, you can't move your little legend, and you're standing there and oh, I missed the item that I wanted. It's over. But yeah, I think having some form of control that's not just I can click faster and I know where to position the little legend better. It's definitely I think it's a good start for sure.
The thing about carousel, right, is that I'm sorry, I'll go very quickly. Is that like like the first carousel feels really weird in that like carousel is meant to punish you later on, right? For if like not punish you, but like it's supposed to reward like give people that are lower on HP a little. There's a reason to be low HP, I guess. Where the first carousel doesn't really affect that at all. Like doesn't go into that at all. So like making the first carousel an armory would be kind of cool, I think. But sorry, Joshi.
Yeah, no, my first impression is I kind of like that because opening carousel doesn't even feel like an APM check. It just feels like a did you get lucky to enter a carousel on the right frame and at the specific angle? And it's like it doesn't even feel like an APM thing. It feels like an RNG thing anyway. So like honestly, having an opening armory wouldn't even feel that bad. I don't know. That's
this is sort of quick tangent though. So if everyone remembers the defensive carousel start, I think this is a great talk about
I
how
missed those.
It's crazy. It's crazy how TFT has changed, right? Because they've done such a good job with balancing the defensive items now that if we think back, I personally would have. I didn't have any issues with defensive item carousel to begin with, but I think a lot of players right now, right, would be very happy if they brought that back. It wouldn't be sort of hated at all as like how it used to be, right?
Yeah, they've done a really good job balancing. I feel like this set 5. I mean, obviously, like unit wise, have a lot of balancing issues, but just like game mechanics wise, I feel like they've done a great job balancing stuff. Yeah, that was a great question, Ramble. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
There are no reverse cards. Here's a question for the host.
I think I think that is gonna about wrap it up. So again, Ramblinnn, thank you so much for coming on and being our first guest. That it means the world. You were a great guest. Again, thank you for asking that question at the end too. That was an awesome question. So you've been amazing.
It's an honor, truly. I mean, I've always been looking forward to the idea, and I think you mentioned this a while ago. Like just making a podcast because that's something the TFT community isn't really, thrive. Like I think content in general is something the TFT community isn't exploring enough right now. So to see 3 players that I respect and I enjoy your streams to take that step towards making a podcast, I think it's a really good sign for the future. So hopefully it goes well for you guys.
Thank you. Again, we couldn't have asked for a better first guest as well. You were all of our first picks, so very honored to have you on. So I guess unless anyone else say, that'll do it for us. And we will see you guys next Friday. I'm not too sure. It potentially might not be at 5. We'll keep you updated. But yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you updated with everything. Don't worry. But anyway, I mean, if no one else has anything to say, I guess that's it.
Catch y'all next week. That's all I got.
Keep a wave. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys later. Peace.
Peace.